Hello my loves, welcome or welcome back. I hope you guys are doing well whenever this reading finds you. I am going to be doing another channeled session today. We're diving deep yet again, and we're going to be looking at the current energy. So whenever you're seeing this, it is timeless. That is when it should apply for you. We are going to be looking at the past and we're going to be looking at the future. So your timeline may look different from somebody else's. Just keep that in mind. And it is general. So take what resonates for you, leave the rest. You guys know your story best. Don't take it personally if certain things don't add up or resonate for you. It may not be your message, but it could be for someone else here that is listening or watching. As always, everything is linked down below for you guys. If you want to follow me elsewhere, if you want to book a private session with me, along with other ways that you guys can support me, my work, the channel, and our upcoming move that will be happening soon. Big thank you again for those of you guys that have been donating in support of that. But that is that. Grab your drinks, your snacks, pen, paper, notebook for those of you that want to channel or take notes alongside with me as we break down your reading today. We are going to get into it. So looking at your current energy, you got the Queen of Cups, and the main word that came through for me was depth. So you're currently in a flow state, it feels like, and you're reaching a deeper level of consciousness and understanding when it comes to yourself, when it comes to your experiences, and even when it comes to the depth of your own feelings and emotions. So you are starting to view your emotions, your memories, and both things when they're connected in a new way. It really does feel as though there's a deeper analysis of things, like the way in which you are reflecting on things. It feels as though you're seeing more than you did before, or there are certain things that my gosh, there goes my voice. Certain things that you are thinking about and considering that you didn't really pay attention to or you weren't as mindful of before. For an example, you may be seeing or realizing now how your emotions played a big part in how you remember things and how you perceive certain moments from your past when they pop up in your reflections or flashbacks, or when you find yourself getting triggered. You realize that that emotion is connected to something else. It's a part of something else. This is making me think of Frozen 2. That came through as one of your signs or synchronicities, Frozen and Frozen 2. Anything in connection to those two movies, any characters, any visuals, music, anything. But Frozen 2 especially, because there was this river in that movie that was really significant, and this is what came through when I was sitting in your energy of the Queen of Cups. So the river is named Atahalan, and I believe it's the keeper of truth or wisdom. So it's where you go to get answers. And in the movie, when Elsa begins her descent into Atahalan, she begins to freeze. And Frozen 2 in general is such a spiritual movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. If not, I definitely recommend that you watch it, because there's just so many layers, there's so many themes, and you guys may really resonate with Elsa, or maybe even Anna, or both. Like, you may resonate with the different roles or characters or the different positions within that movie. But for Elsa especially, she had been hearing this call, right? Hearing and feeling this call, and was following her intuition to this space. And that is where she discovered the truth, not only about herself, but other really significant and important things that were connected to her because of her parents. Which automatically, for me, that would speak to something generational, which we did touch on in the last reading. I forgot to mention that Atahalan is also frozen as well. But going back to the descent that I was talking about, this is something that we've seen in many different tales and stories, especially within mythology. Persephone descending into the underworld and coming back, and she was now a goddess. She left a maiden, returned as a goddess. Inanna also had a descent that was similar, and you guys have experienced this as well, and you have survived this descent. Despite the resistance that you may have felt or faced internally, and especially externally, I definitely can feel that you've had certain triggers and what has felt like certain obstacles or blockages within your environment, whether it is the environment itself, certain people, certain situations. And the archetype of the river in general is just really significant for you guys. And this may be a very weird visual I'm about to describe, but what I was seeing is like, imagine your veins or your nervous system, right, as many rivers and many channels. And so you have these feelings, these experiences, memories, emotions that are forming and flooding through, because as the Queen of Cups, you feel things in a really deep, intense, and a profound way. And so as these things are flooding through, it's able to break up what has been stuck or stagnant. Like imagine there being rocks in a river and there's something that is stuck behind a rock or hooked onto something, caught on something. So the more that you allow yourself to feel these feelings and you don't suppress them or try and push them down or withhold them from being released, you are able to clear out what has been building up and creating pressure over time. And what I'm seeing now is that every time this release happens, it is shaping and altering what has already existed, the memories that have already been there, your attachments to certain things, your perspectives with certain things. So if you do feel what seems like a heightened sensitivity, I really sense that you are just getting back to your true self. I do believe that you are a highly sensitive individual. Again, you feel things in a really profound way, in a way that may be hard to articulate, or in a way that you may feel other people can't even begin to comprehend or understand. And it may feel overwhelming, and especially because there is this purge that's happening because you're actively working through these things, right? You're working through identifying and coming to terms with multiple layers and multiple aspects to not only yourself, but certain patterns and cycles that you have been in and that have been there generationally. Like with Elsa, she didn't just discover who she was and was able to unveil her true identity, but with that, she saw the things that happened before her, and there was a deeper truth within that was bridging everything together. So it is a lot. It's overwhelming. And I think I said in the last reading where you could be in this position where you're breaking down multiple things constantly. You may be analyzing everything, just experiencing what feels like an awakening or this refreshing of your perspective and your outlook on things, where now it's like you're in an entirely new world, or you have a new set of eyes, right? Seeing things from a fresh set of eyes. It's kind of like when babies and toddlers, children in general, when they go through certain leaps and certain developmental phases, they see things one way, and then as they're going through this leap and they're developing new skills or getting a heightened level or a new level of awareness, an expanded level of awareness, suddenly those things that they have been seeing suddenly look very different. Does it mean that the thing itself has changed physically? No, not necessarily. But because of this cognizance, because of this deeper layer that is being added on, now it's like they're getting an additional lens, and it feels different, it looks different, It just is different. And that's how it is for you. Not to say that you're a baby or a toddler, okay? But this is just the best way that I can explain it and describe it to you. And hopefully that made sense. There was a song that came through the other night, Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson. I will link it down below for you guys if you want to listen to it, if you haven't heard it before. I haven't heard this song in years, so it was so weird when I was outside the other night. And sometimes I just randomly start singing things, you know? Usually it's things that I'm listening to now and I guess hyperfixating on. But it just came through, so I was like, okay, that is a message for someone. So I feel like that definitely ties into your guys' reading today. Looking at your clarifiers, you have the Ten of Swords reversed with the Three of Wands reversed. So for me, this feels like you are being fully present in the here and now. You are in this present moment. The Ten of Swords being in this position makes me think of the past. The Three of Wands being in this position is making me think of the future. But there isn't a fixation, or I should say, your existence is not rooted in either. And I think that you may have a tendency to go backwards or forwards mentally, in a sense, because of anxiety that you may have or certain stressors. There may be a desire to control things or go back to what is comfortable and what is familiar, even if it is something that still could be unhealthy or triggering. And again, this is all mental. I don't necessarily feel like you are resorting to doing certain things from the past per se. I just feel like there's, like, your attention is either directed behind you or in front of you instead of just being rooted in the here and now. But that is not the case. You are very connected to your present moment, and this is actually something that is really benefiting you, even though it may be a lot right now. Emotionally, you feel more grounded and present than ever before, and this is what's allowing you to flow. You are in this flow state. This is what is allowing you to move more effortlessly with these shifts and changes that are happening. And this is also what is opening you up to receiving. Now you're becoming an open channel, right? And I was just brought to another part of Frozen 2 at the end. When the dam breaks, Elsa goes and is able to contain the flood and the waves that came rushing in towards her kingdom. And I think this also speaks to you finding ways to balance, stabilize, regulate yourself, but also find a way to ground this flooding of emotions and these breakthroughs that you are experiencing, so it doesn't become something that is destructive in a more detrimental way to yourself and to your life. It's like you're finding healthy ways to channel, to navigate, and to cope with these emotions, these breakthroughs, this awareness that is taking place and coming through. The past does not have to shape the future in the ways that it did previously. And you may have had that mentality of, this is what I have experienced time and time again, and unintentionally you may have projected that onto your future. Or you may have stuck with what was familiar or comfortable without realizing that that is where it would have led you, right? And I want to emphasize that there are things that happen that are absolutely outside of our control. And I think for you, what you try to do in these moments where you found yourself in similar cycles or environments is you try to control or change what was outside of you versus turning inward and prioritizing that. I think at times you thought you were, right? By making certain external changes to you, that was your way of addressing certain things within, but it was more of like, okay, I need to find a way to control, to contain, to change this outside of myself. But now you've been turning inward and you're understanding that so much of what you're experiencing or you have been feeling There have been so many things contributing to the state that you have been in. That's what I'm trying to say. But a lot of it has to do with the power that you have been giving to those things. We can't control or change how other people treat us. We cannot control their behaviors, their actions, their decisions. We can control how we respond and how we handle that interaction. We decide and we get to choose how we deal with those things, with those people, and how we move forward from there, right? So this emotional and mental and even physical push and pull that you've been experiencing is because you have still been engaged with those things. And now that you are becoming disengaged from it and you're focusing more on you and what you need and how you feel, and you're not opening yourself up to be siphoned through these channels and these links, these ties, this has been helping you significantly. Before I move on to the next part, I wanted to talk about these 2 cards I just found. So I had to pause it for a second. I went inside and I saw these 2 cards flipped over in a drawer that has some of my decks that I like to use. So one card was from a deck that I used today. It was the Shadow card. It has the energy of 7, which makes a lot of sense because I feel in a way you've kind of been on this hermit journey, right? Of introspection, of reflection, of getting back to your roots in your core, discovering who you are, who you've been, and who you are at this point in time, right? Peeling back those layers that we talked about already. And the other card was the Sun. So I feel that the reason why you are coming through as a Queen of Cups right now is being someone who is in the flow, emotionally grounded and connected and present, is because you are encompassing and embracing all these aspects of yourself that you struggle to reach and bridge the gap between before. You're embracing your shadow and you are reconnecting and pouring life back into your inner child, allowing them to come through, allowing them to be seen, and identifying what they need. So we'll talk about that more when I break down the dream that I had. Let's look at the foundation for you. So the foundation for you is meditate. And this card has the energy of the number 4, which focuses on foundation, quite literally. Building blocks for stability, internal peace equals external peace, right? And that's what I meant when I said before, previously, when you notice that you found yourself looping within a certain cycle, it's because you were trying to change what was outside of you versus turning inward completely and giving more power to what was external versus turning your energy and attention and your power inwards. So when we focus on prioritizing our internal peace and we nurture our inner world, that is going to shift and change how things are for us externally. Think about it. When you make these changes within, when you work through these things, when you break these cycles internally, and you have a new awareness and perception of things, then naturally, whatever you've been in physically that does not align with this breakthrough that you're experiencing is going to dissolve, it's going to change, it's going to fall away. And for you, this can manifest as you actually physically changing locations, changing jobs, no longer identifying with a certain group of people and meeting new people that you align and resonate with. You are getting back to your true self, your core, and nurturing this is what's going to contribute to the greater change that is already happening outside of you, because you've already been working on this, even if you didn't realize it. Subconsciously, this shift has already been happening. Now you're just more aware of it. It feels like something clicked for you. And I wrote at the top, sometimes things will click when you have the right voice and when you have the right spirit. Meaning, someone could tell you something and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know. But for something to really click and for you to feel it wholeheartedly within, to feel it resonate within you, Sometimes you need to hear it from a specific voice or a specific person, or it has to be delivered in a specific way. And that happens to me all the time, right? Like, there are things that I know, but it doesn't click. And sometimes I need to hear it. Like, I'll hear it through a video. I'll see it play out in front of me in another situation or with other people, or I see a certain word and then one day it just clicks. Sometimes we just need that. And so many people don't realize that they are guides, right? Many people go out into the world not with the intention of guiding or leading or mentoring others, but they just do. And it's because they are the ones that are intended to deliver a specific message to a specific group of people. Sometimes you'll just come across people and you'll hear something and it just clicks, or immediately you feel connected to them or you resonate with them. Or you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I find this person sooner? Like, where have they been? I love their energy, or I align with their goals and their aspirations. I really like what they share. There is timing to everything, and I feel that that happens at a specific time for a specific reason, and it's because you are now in alignment with that. So with the meditate card, finding time to create moments of stillness for yourself, mindfully grounding. I also got something about breath work and reframing your thoughts, which is something that I've been working on. So when I hear certain things, or I'm told certain things, or even if I have certain thoughts, about myself or about certain aspects of my life, I'm consciously reframing them in the moment, so I don't become paralyzed by those things that I felt so limited by previously, whether it be perfectionism or insecurities or shame. Like, there's so many different things that weigh on us heavy emotionally. And I've noticed that I've had to do a lot more reframing when it comes to certain people or things that I interact with within my environment, because it, one, triggers certain things within me. Yes. Oh my gosh, I don't know what is happening over there. A delivery truck just went by and it just started smoking. I don't know where it's coming from. Now it's stopped. There's like big clouds of smoke. I hope it's okay. My gosh. Anyways, it almost looked like a tire had blown out. I don't know if it did though. But going back to what I was saying, I don't know where I left off, but if I allow what other people say and their projections and their opinions cloud my judgment and my vision, how I see myself, the relationship I have with myself, and if I allow it to put me in this cage where I'm then flooded with all of this hurt, and I just sit in the insecurities and I let them overtake me, I'm just binding myself with it. And I'm giving it permission to keep me stuck and stagnant. And it's not to say that I don't feel certain things when it happens, or I don't have those thoughts. Like I said, I do, but it's a matter of reframing, so you are able to transition beyond that experience and continue to move forward, and so it does not feed into this negative, unhealthy, damaging perception or relationship that you've had of yourself, or you have had with yourself. That is what we are moving out of. That is what we are moving away from. And the more that you turn inward and focus on stabilizing yourself and taking care of you and loving you, you may feel that you are met with a lot of resistance or retaliation within certain things around you, because it does not align with the environment, the atmosphere that you are in, or it does not align with certain connections that you have. So it may feel like there's a lot of chaos and conflict that's being stirred up, or things may just fall away. And that actually is a positive sign that you are moving on from it, and that you're not getting stuck, bound, or anchored down by it and within it. I wanted to see what is guiding you. What is the energy that is guiding you, that is intuitively pulling you, kind of like a guiding star, right? The thing that is giving you a sense of direction. And you have courage. The numbers for this card, you have it go from 10 to 1, which would be endings and new beginnings, which has been a theme here. So having the courage to face what is uncomfortable and scary within, and trusting yourself despite the years of conditioning and belief that you shouldn't. I feel that there either has been a person in your life or people in your life that have tried to get you codependent on their way of doing things, their view of things. It feels like they want you to be codependent on them for guidance, direction, and answers, because then they can manipulate your path, right? Whether they're doing it intentionally or not, I do feel that there is at least one person that has intentionally tried to manipulate you into keeping you stuck or keeping you connected to them so they can continue to benefit off of you, right? But it's done in a way to discourage you and to invalidate you, to make you feel as though you aren't doing enough, you can't do enough, and you won't be able to do it or make it on your own. And since you guys are pulling away and you are taking those steps to be more self-sufficient, I feel like that is what you guys are meant to do. You're meant to forge your own path, but you likely grew up in a unit or a system where you were taught that there is no separation, there is no individuality, there are no boundaries. You are forever connected to the system, the unit, the group, whatever you want to call it. I don't even want to say family, even if it is the biological family that you were born into. I don't want to address it as that because it doesn't even feel like what a family should be, right? There's so much control, there's so much domination and oppression, manipulation, illusions. It just doesn't feel real because it's not real, it's not authentic. And I was getting this vision of a storm. There are storm clouds, and it represents what's stagnant or disorienting, oppressive, and discouraging. So this could be energy coming from a specific person or people, like I said before, or it's just been this cycle within the cycle or pattern that you've been in. And the card, the courage card itself, has a lightning bolt. I feel like you guys are the lightning bolt here, because you come in with a force and an authenticity and a truth that tears down and breaks down all lies and illusions and all falsities. And that is really intimidating, but this is what's guiding you. This is what you are embodying and what you're going towards, what you're following. So your truth illuminates what's real, the reality, and it grounds you in your reality. It does not ground you in these illusions that you've been trapped in, or that other people have tried to throw over you, push onto you. And if anything, I feel like you are gaining power through this. You are finding ways to transmute it and use it to your advantage, to use it as a catalyst for more strength, for more confidence, and for more independence for yourself. So that is what I'm seeing within that. Now we're going to move on to your past, and we're going to take a look at the future and see what the energy looks like there. Looking at your past, you have the Six of Pentacles. So I do feel that there has been a reevaluation of how much is given and what is received, right? You're not just accepting anything anymore. And I think that this specific pattern for you has been one of the biggest ones that you've had to overcome. It's hard for me to explain because there's this overarching pattern or cycle. Like there's the main cycle, but within that there are smaller or significant patterns that make up this bigger cycle, right? So this is like one of the main ones. that has tied you to the bigger cycle that I feel has existed generationally. And it absolutely has been something that was ingrained and instilled within you since early childhood. I think this was just a pattern that you were born into. So when I say that you're not accepting just anything, the shadow side of this is that you have been in dynamics where there was an imbalance of exchange, where things were transactional or conditional, where there's this expectation that you needed to give unconditionally, but you received the bare minimum in return, or there could have been breadcrumbing, or maybe you didn't receive anything at all. So you felt that you had to give and give and give an unlimited amount of time and energy, effort into certain people and situations with the hopes that you would just receive anything in turn, and you based your worth off of that. And again, this is coming from things outside of you that made you believe that you were only worthy if you could provide things that would benefit and cater to other people. But you were never fully validated in that. It was always something that was slightly out of reach. Maybe you got a taste of it. Maybe you got a little bit more in certain moments than you did previously. And it's like being starving. You were starved of love and attention and affection. So when you experience that breadcrumbing, you get just a little bit, you're dependent on that. You're starving for it. You're hungry for it. So you'll take just anything because that part of you has been starved and deprived. And this is in your past, right? So you've become more aware of this. You become more aware of how these dynamics and these connections and these cycles, how it has affected you and impacted you throughout various stages of your life, how it has shaped you now, and how it still affects you to this day. The certain triggers that you may have, certain patterns that you have that you may exhibit or fall into from time to time because of these triggers. And since it does feel like for a lot of you, you're still being actively triggered, you're fighting to work through it while also trying to deal with that subconscious hunger that is still there. What's amazing now is that with your awareness and taking the time to break it down and really understand it, you're finding ways to navigate it more healthily, and instead of looking for outside or external validation, you're just pouring back into you, which we see in your present moment. So you're working on creating balance, especially when it comes to your output, how much you put out, how much you give. Instead of putting yourself on the back burner and giving to everyone and everything else first, you are learning to turn in and give to yourself first before you pour into anyone and anything else. And especially for those of you where you are responsible for certain things, especially if you have kids, it can be really hard to pour into yourself because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you are giving everything to another. And if you are a parent or if you're a caretaker, whether it be in your personal life or profession, I think you're learning that by putting yourself first, you can better care for others, and that you will find that you are more balanced and mentally, emotionally, and physically regulated by taking time for you. In the recent past, you've been breaking down where you've been putting your time and energy and how that has affected you and has affected your circumstances. Now, clarifying this, you have the 7 of Swords and the 2 of Pentacles. So let's look at the 7 of Swords first, right? 7 of Swords could be dishonesty with the self or denial. It could be theft, deception, or manipulation from another. And there is an awareness of 2 things, right? That you've been stuck in the cyclical pattern of manipulation, and specifically connected with people that disregard boundaries or see you or use you as a pawn or a tool. And you are not someone or something that can be used for other people's gain or benefit. okay? You are not someone or something that can be passed around. And you've experienced that type of dynamic and relationship of being useful when people need you and being discarded when they have drained you. And that second thing that you're realizing is that denying yourself and disregarding your personal well-being or fulfillment, it has contributed to the loop, right? By falling into that pattern of seeking validation or reassurance outside of yourself to prove that you are worthy, that you are valuable, that you are lovable. That is how they keep you stuck in that, because they know you crave that. They know that you're dependent on it. Deep down, even if it's not a conscious thought, they can feel it. And you're learning to find balance in service, because you guys naturally, you just are lovers. You want to give, you want to support, you want to nurture, you want to protect. It's just part of who you are. And you, especially if you're in a field of service, regardless of what that looks like, or if you feel that you are of service to others in your day-to-day, your personal life, right? You're constantly in service in general. Whether you want to be or not, whether you realize it or not, you guys are always in service. But finding balance within this is like being able to have healthy boundaries in place so you don't push yourself beyond a specific point and break yourself down or do things because of those triggers. Those triggers, they may always be there. They may always exist. It's how we navigate them and how we choose to move through them that shifts things. So you may find, as a person with this pattern that has been in these cycles, that you still subconsciously struggle with these things in other areas of your life where it may not seem so present, where it may not seem so in your face. You may not realize that this pattern could be resurfacing in your career. Maybe you are always called in when other people fall short, and you take your job very seriously and you're very passionate about your work, or they just know that you'll do anything, you'll help anyone, you'll give your all. So then they rely on you too much, or they just expect you to do that all the time, and they don't consider your needs. They don't consider how you feel or what's going on in your life or what you can handle. They're just seeing you as someone that can be used. And then when you have nothing else to give, or you're suffering, again, you're tossed to the side. And then it's like there's something wrong with you. Then you blame yourself. So see what I mean? How this can play out in multiple areas. Even if you have your own business. Like when I do tarot, there are times where I feel like I need to produce certain things because it's what other people would want. But that part of myself that feels like I need to produce and always cater to receive validation or to feel like I'm worthy of taking up space gets triggered through that. So I'm learning to find a balance and do what I feel called to do, because I do feel this pull to help and assist and serve in a way, but also trying to respect myself and my needs, and to realize that my worth is not dependent on what people think of my work and my readings, and whether they resonate or not, or if they like my style of reading, if they like the setup, if they like the format, like that has been a struggle for me too. I would definitely look at your birth charts if you haven't, because I can guarantee that you guys have certain placements, certain aspects, the way things are positioned within your chart, this would be reflected there. I feel it strongly. You could have significant Virgo placements, Capricorn as well. Honestly, all the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. I'm also feeling Cancer. Moving on from that though, I wanted to talk about the dream I just had the other night, because I feel that this is very much connected to your guys' energy and what you have been experiencing. So in this dream, I was in this massive Victorian home. It was like as big as a mansion, and it was partially in ruins, but to me it was so beautiful. And when I entered the dream, I was like, okay, this is my home, and I am reclaiming it. I'm going to, what's the word? What is that word? It's not refurnish, is it? You guys know what I mean. We're going to go in. We're going to repair everything and make it all nice, renewed, restored. Okay, going to restore it, and I'm going to renovate it. There we go. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was my plan in mind, right? And in this home, when I first walked in, had my kids and some of my closest connections. I'm walking around, looking around, and I just love it. It's beautiful, and I feel my inner child come through. I look down, I'm wearing like this really beautiful Victorian dress, kind of, but this big flowy dress, and there's these spiral staircases. I'm like running up and down with my niece, and like I said, my kids are there and we're playing and we're just having a fun time. And even though it's in ruins and there's parts that are broken down, and it's just so beautiful to me. And as I go throughout and I continue to like explore, I notice that there's people, right? And there's people that I don't recognize that are walking through. There's this guy with his dog walking through, and he was just enjoying the place. And up until this point, it felt as though it was vacant, like it either belonged to someone else or it was just there, I guess. So I'm bumping into these people, and I have this thought that they enjoy this place, they love this place. Like, I don't mind if they return, if they come back, because I feel that I should share it with everyone, right? And in the, what is it called? Is it a foyer? In this area, there was a giant willow tree. And when I did a deeper dive into the symbolism of it and the positioning, it represents resilience, wisdom, and deep healing. And I felt as though that was like the heart of the home, or like a major part of the space. So maybe like the core. And then there was this stone wall, and on all of these natural stones, there were these imprints. There were different animal prints, and there were leaf prints and things like that. And I was just like so obsessed with this wall. I loved it so much. Like, honestly, in real life, I would recreate it if I can find a way. But it was just, everything here was so aligned with me, and it was so cool. And if I didn't say it yet, ever since I was a child, I always loved the style of Victorian homes, and I always wanted one. So here I am, inner child, taking over, and I'm going throughout the dream. And there's other things that happen, but the most significant part is that every time I would re-enter the home, and I was like looking for certain things, or like planning out what things would look like, there would be more and more people, to the point where there was hundreds of people by the end of it in the home and on the property. And I'm still running around with my niece, with my kids, just having a fun time. I'm noticing these people, and part of me is uncomfortable because I didn't really want them all to be there. I'm like, okay, well, this is my home, and I want to work on these things, and I feel like I have to please these people, that I have to cater to what they want. They like it here, they're happy here, so I should just let them be here, even though I'm not comfortable and I don't want them to be here. Which to me is very reminiscent of what we're talking about people pleasing, and people feeling as though they're entitled to you, your energy, what you provide, that they feel they should have unlimited access, and that they should just benefit off of you, regardless of how you feel, and not considering what you need and what you desire, right? So in this dream, I learned a lot about certain patterns and cycles within my own life that are very reminiscent of what we've been talking about today. And I feel that this dream wasn't just for me, but also for you guys because of what has come through. So this is the shift that is taking place. You becoming more protective of your own energy and prioritizing you, giving yourself the respect that you've never been given. When we look at the future, you have the Fool card. So new you, new beginning, new life, and a new story. This is when you ascend again and you're viewing the world, like I said before, from a fresh or new set of eyes. It's like the color is returning. You know how when people take pictures and they notice that it seems more gray and a lot darker, and they're like, I don't see the world this way. Or as a child, like, it used to be so much more vibrant and colorful and lively, and now everything is just flat and gray. That is what's coming through, is that the color is returning. And this could definitely be the case for you, where people may see that the light or the color, the life in your eyes is just returning. So there's freedom in all aspects. And what stuck out to me between the Queen of Cups and the Fool, it both looks like they're standing on glaciers. Although I usually see the Fool as the person stepping off of the cliff, because that's how it looks in traditional tarot, the style of it, whether it's a glacier or a mountain, it made me think back to the Frozen references, right? And now she's in this light, flowy, beautiful dress, which is also funny because of my dream. There's this freedom to just be. Live how you want to live, love who you want to love, express yourself however you want to express yourself, regardless of what everybody else thinks or wants or what they've projected, and the version of you that they've held on to. They can hold on to that if they want to, but that doesn't mean that you need to embody that you need to default into that. You are embracing newness in all forms. And I do feel that this new start is going to happen in a big way. You may feel as though you're starting over with where you're at in life in multiple ways. You may just feel that you've had this breakthrough and now you're experiencing life in an entirely different way. And I think I said it in the last reading where I talked about how everything you've experienced and lived through and felt up until this point, it's like its own story or its own series. And now you're moving on to a new story, a new book, a new series. So your clarifiers, you have the Page of Wands that came out in reverse and the Queen of Pentacles. I think the Page of Wands in reverse is no longer pouring energy into anything that doesn't sustain you. You're not allowing your energy to be pulled and manipulated by others. Just you're not feeling into or supplying the chaos, the conflict, the stress, the toxicity that unintentionally you fueled before. Does that make sense? Hopefully I worded that the right way. But the Page of Wands upright for me can represent your identity. So with it being reversed and then also having the Queen of Pentacles, it's like your identity, you're shifting what defines your identity, and you are no longer identifying as those things that aren't truly in alignment with you. Like I had just said, you are not defaulting and falling back into these identities and positions that you were expected to be or take on just because that is what gave you a tiny bit of attention or validation, or I wouldn't even say recognition, but it's like you were somewhat acknowledged when you catered to specific things in a specific way, but you never truly received recognition. You never truly received the attention that you deserved or the love and the care that you deserved, and that's why it was never fulfilling. So that is also no longer settling for less or accepting those breadcrumbs. And this protection and prioritizing of your own energy, it leads to the growth and the abundance in the right places. So you're directing your attention and your focus to the things that you actually want to grow, that you want to sustain. And that's why I also feel that as you've been transitioning out of this, you've been met with this resistance in some way, shape, or form, either from a person or people or things. There's been this resistance within your environment surrounding you that has been trying to keep you small, contained, and to prevent you from putting your attention where it should go, to grow the things that you want to grow, whether it be dreams, goals, or even within yourself. There's been this constant restriction, this pressure and this weight that has kept you looking everywhere else and pouring in every other space that is not your own. And it could be something that is more subtle, or it could be more apparent. Let's say every time you try to work on a specific goal, you have an interruption. Someone tries to pull your attention towards other things. They try and get you to do something else, distract you with certain things, or they bring you certain emotional, mental, physical responsibility or burdens or baggage. It's like there's always something popping up. And maybe you would stop, and maybe you would turn your attention towards those other things, and it would pull from you. And with people too, I wanted to say this, that there are people, especially that are operating from these cycles, that are comfortable in these cycles, either unwilling or afraid of breaking out. There are certain patterns of behaviors that these people exhibit, things that they do, and especially where there's manipulation. There are just some people that feed off of other people's fear. They feed off of emotional distress, anger, sadness. They take advantage of other people's emotions and their kindness and connection. They weaponize it. So the more you recognize this within certain people or certain things within your life, that's where that reframing comes in, and that's where you have to redirect yourself away from what would normally pull you in and shift your attention back towards yourself and what's important. Viewing things from a more practical and logical perspective. For you guys, stability, security, and self-sufficiency are your goals and desires. And you are the Queen of Pentacles already, but to allow this version of you to come forward, like I said, that redirection of attention and focus is key for you. Turning towards other things is a choice. Turning to the things that you want to grow is a choice. And you are the one that has the power to make that choice, regardless of how other people or things may try so desperately and intensely to influence you, okay? So your final advice here, you have the Eight of Wands, which is embracing that shifting energy, riding the wave of that momentum, the change that's flooding into your life. And it's something that happens very quickly, something that takes off quickly, something that grows quickly. It could even be news or information that comes to you very quickly, but it's fast-paced and it's coming in abundance. So the more you flow, the farther you'll go. This is also speaking to pushing through the internal and external conflicts and not allowing it to further wound you or siphon from you. So in the moments where you feel triggered, whether it's from within or outside of you, grounding, centering, and reminding yourself of the truth. That is how you push through. You are in the best state that you can be in right now during the transition that is taking place. It took a lot for you to get here. I said in the last reading, I'll say it again. I am proud of you. I hope that you are proud of yourself and you are on the best path possible for you, with who you are currently, what you've been wanting, and what you deserve. So whatever you're moving away from, whatever is falling out of your life, whatever is being exposed and revealed to you, trust it, follow your intuition, and continue to prioritize yourself, because once you break away, just like the song, right? When you break away, you're out of the cycle completely. That is it. It's done. And that was your choice. I hope this made sense. I hope it helped. I love you guys so, so much. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah. Bye, guys.